All right, welcome to the Free Friday Coaching Call, everyone. For those of you that may be listening to this on the recording, want to let you get ready, get your minds and hearts ready, get a pen and paper to take some notes, and what you're going to do as far as actionable items when you leave the call on the other side of today. There's over 900 people that have requested to be on the email list for distribution of this call, and so we know that most of you probably will catch the recording. However, for those of you that are live, we want to welcome you. If you're here for the first time, the history of this call is that Rick used to do it, my late husband, and he had of the 43 years that he spent in the industry, close to 30 of them, he was a speaker, trainer, mentor, and coach. And so everywhere he went, he would give people his phone number, say, call me if you need anything, absolutely anything. And so that got to be a lot. And so he created this call as a way to be able to have a conversation in a one-to-many approach with his friends in real estate to continue to help and support the mindset and skill set of success. And so we've continued that in his honor. And what that call has turned into is interviews of literally the best of the best in the industry, people that are leading by example, have created incredible results, and are willing to, in a spirit of contribution, continue to give back and invest in the learning and growth of others. And so I'm super excited for our guest that we have on the call today. I remember the first time that I had the opportunity to meet him. It was not actually in person, it was on a Zoom. And he had been connected with me through somebody that I very much respect and admire, Leo Robles. And he said, hey, there's this guy that's coming into our organization. And, he has a background that is just unbelievable, from, leadership positions in law enforcement and government work to this stellar track record and a few years in the real estate industry and really making waves and doing things at a really high level. And so he wants to grow and build something really special here. And you'll see the shirt that he's wearing. So I'm going to tip him off. And I think he's also the only man on the call so far. So it's kind of obvious who I'm talking about. But his vision was to create this community called Dream Chasers, where people would grow and rise together. And that would happen as a result of leadership and action and people willing to do the work and really create their own levels of success in the industry. And so I have a mad amount of respect for him, and I adore him, actually. I love him to death. And so, Joseph Trujillo, welcome to the call today. Super excited to have you. I know you've got, a bunch of accolades. You've been honored as a Success 125 member. You're in the top 1% in the agents around the US, and you literally lead an organization of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of real estate agents that span all over the place. And so you are not shy to hard work and being in the trenches and making things happen. So we're excited to have you on the call today.
Thank you so much, Casey. I appreciate you. I love you tremendously. And just want to give you, Selena, Debbie, a shout out and Laura rather, for all the hard work that you guys do and your contributions to this company, this organization, and its agents. It's phenomenal. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get started, for people that may not know you and may just be meeting you for the first time, would love for you to share just your story and your background. I know we have an exciting topic for today, which is a very relevant topic to anybody that is in the industry, which is really how to look at your business as a business owner and CEO and start to do it from that perspective. But before we get to that, tell us about Joe Trujillo.
I love that. Yeah. So I am in California, California native, born in New Mexico on an Indian reservation, right up in northern New Mexico. So I love the humble beginnings, but bringing that into my California upbringing, I grew up in Boyle Heights, East LA, Los Angeles, in a time when the streets were pretty rough out here, and that led me into a space of not diving into college right away, but I went to the military just to try to square myself away. My dad was a two-time veteran in the Marine Corps, so he was just like, "Hey, dude, you're not doing the right things. You need to do it. You need to get on a better path." So I set off for the Marine Corps. I did 4 years of active duty, a total of almost 10 years, including reserve time. And shortly after the Marine Corps, I transitioned into civilian world, which was very, very difficult. A lot of military Personnel usually find a struggle in that transition period. And by God's fortune, I ended up working for, I started off in the federal prison system. A lot of people don't know that. So I was a federal detention officer right where the LA riots are happening, actually, right now, at the Federal Detention Center in Los Angeles. And I was in that position for a little less than a year before I got promoted to work as a U.S. Marshal. So I worked for the U.S. Marshal Service for about 10 years leading up to 9/11. In that span, I worked mostly high profile RICO cases for the US government in a criminal investigator capacity. And then after 9/11, just like our country was disrupted and turned upside down, I went from criminal investigations to counterterrorism investigations. And that led me to another 12 years of service, mostly working internationally in covert kind of operations for a few different three-letter agencies. And then I found real estate. And then I wanted to sell my own house because I didn't want to pay the 6% commission. Yeah, I was that guy. And I got my license and I sold my house, found a buyer, and my buyer had to sell their house. I had three transactions in one, and I'm like, this is the best at the time side hustle ever. And 25 transactions later in that 6 month period, I knew that real estate was something that was just going to be formidable in my life. And found EXP a year later. And now I've been with EXP going on 7 years this November, and it has been life changing for me.
Well, number one, thank you so much for all of your years of service. I know that nobody knows what that is actually unless they've personally done it. Um,
Mm,
and there's more that you don't say than there is ever that you do say about it.
yep.
That's my consistent experience with people that serve in the capacity that you've served. And I think it's really incredible that you've taken the skills and disciplines that you used. I always say, skill sets are transferable. And where you've used skill sets to create success in one area and you pivot to another area, you can be wildly successful as well. So the structure, the discipline, the drive, the desire to help and to make a difference and to serve as you pivoted all of that into the industry of real estate and that platform. There's been huge things that have happened for you and for everybody that's really connected with you in business and life. And so I think that there's a lot that we can learn from your story in that of persistence. Clearly, you have a vision for yourself and for your family and for people that want to align with you. And you are somebody that, walks the talk. You're willing to do the work and the things that are required or that are asked at the level of somebody that's got a vision the size that you have. So, super grateful for who you are and looking forward for you to, jump into the topic that we've got today, really around this mindset of being a business owner in real estate and how that shifts, first off, how we're looking and thinking about things, and then diving into how we actually execute and how that looks different when that changes.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited. You guys excited on the call? Let's go. Let's get fired up. Hey, Zach, thank you for your service, brother. All right. I'm ready to dive in. If I could get access and I can share my screen, that would be fantastic. Looks like I got it. Thank you. And let me go here. And where are we at? All right. Can you guys see my screen now? Am I cooking?
You're good. We can see it.
All right. Let me present it full screen. Or is it full screen on your guys' end?
I would just close out, it's got the side of your Canva on the
There we
left.
go.
Yep.
Let me reset that. There we
Perfect.
go. All right. So today I'm going to spend about 30 minutes or so going over the topic, right? And what I love about this word here, what I want to be kind of go over with all of you, if I have your permission, is talking about being an operator in your business, right? So in my years of government service, one thing that I noticed is there was always a significant difference between soldiers, average personnel, and then people that really had a specialty and were operators in their craft. So in this conversation today, we're going to talk much more than just about sales, right? At the end, I'm going to give you guys some strategy that I've implemented in my real estate practice. But today, I want to talk about like how we show up. And I refer to business in my mindset, it's always a battlefield. Like for me, like being battle tested because we're consistently growing and training and operating at the highest level. So I like to refer to my business as a battlefield. And I'm gonna actually encourage you guys for this conversation is try to reset, step into my shoes, into my boots a little bit, and see how it can be applicable for you in your business. So that way we're not just operating as average agents, but we're operating as operators in our business. Okay, sounds good? All right. So these are the topics that I'll be covering. We'll do a quick intro. Let's talk about the definition of what an operator is. I always like to not assume that everybody has had some military interaction or background or reference. And then we'll talk about some specifics as it relates to income differences that I've seen in my experience in real estate and how being an operator will not just serve you and your clients more, but it'll actually make you more income. Okay. We went over the introduction. But one thing that I would love to tap into that I left out when Casey was introducing me was that, yeah, being disciplined, having vision, hard to do everything is quite phenomenal. Last week I was on a podcast and somebody asked me like, what was the key takeaway that you've implemented in your business from your previous history? And it was that in my real estate practice, even when I was doing it part-time, I never operated it as a hobbyist, right? Or as a tourist in my own business. I was always all in order to enhance everything that I thought was applicable to my skill and my craft. So, being an operator is exactly that. Being an operator is moving into a space where you're not just there for the time being. You're not going through the motions. You're operating with excellence as often as you can. And yes, you will fall short, right? That happens. But it's getting back up, especially in a fight or an altercation or a moment where you may be finding yourself in a place of lack. It's getting back up fast to get back into the fight. And that's what operators do, right? So, what is the definition of an operator, right? Again, it's not just a soldier, it's not the average, right? You operate as an elite, as a precise operator in your business. You're completely mission driven, right? I love the mission driven part because in all the capacities that I had in government service, we never just showed up to work, right? We never just kind of like clocked in and just sat on a desk and went through some motions. I was blessed to be around a lot of like really formidable men and women that every day we had a mission in mind. It was always end result driven. And so that always prepared us to operate our performance with high stakes, right? So we always knew, and it's a little extreme, but we knew like every mission that we embarked on that there was the highest stake was people losing their lives, right? People losing their lives. And so when you're operating out of that place, there really is no second option to not show up performing your best, even when you feel like crap, even when you're injured or you don't feel good or things aren't just lining up perfectly for you. You still got to show up and do the work. And so being an operator in your business is, I would say it's definitely a cut above, right? But my hope and my prayer for all of you is that you want that out of your business and your life as well. So here's some key things that we'll be sharing about being an operator. Now, before I continue going forward, if at any time during this training session you guys have any questions, any comments, any shares, put it in the chat and I'll make sure to address them as we go along if they're applicable. If not, we'll save them for the end of the call. All right. Now, before I kick into some specific training, I want to take a quick 60 seconds for you guys to do a quick self-assessment. Okay? Quick self-assessment on being an operator. There's 5 questions in there. Just quickly on any note that you have, give yourself a score of 1 to 5 on each one of those categories. Okay? First, mission and discipline. Do you start your day with clear mission, routine, and purpose? Don't overthink it. Just do a quick self-assessment and make sure you guys are honest with yourselves. Number 2, training and skill. Are you consistently sharpening your skills with training, role playing, mentorship, or coaching? Clearly, you guys are on this call, so I applaud you already. Number 3, mindset under pressure. Do you stay calm? Do you stay focused, proactive when deals start falling apart or your real estate business isn't going as smoothly as you would hope and want? Number 4, systems and precision. Do you operate systems? Do you have CRM, follow-up marketing, or are you just kind of winging it, guessing as you go? And lastly, are you taking full ownership of your business and inspiring others around you? Awesome. All right, now I won't be asking you guys to share your responses, but it is a great reflection point for you to be able to take a look. Okay, are you in the 3s? Are you in the 4s? Is there room for improvement? So ideally, you take a look at this scorecard, and at the end of it, you're not going to be adding them up. It's not based on a total number of in your scoring, but what it is it's a moment for you to just take deep reflection on, wow, there maybe there is an area of improvement here, and then how do I apply that into my daily practice so I can continue to just enhance my skill sets? Make sense? All right, I love it. Now, close this out. Let's talk about what this looks like, right? In real estate specifically. So in my transition, especially in my first 2 years at EXP, I was working essentially in a, I don't call it part-time, it was more like by locational. I was traveling just for scope team, right? I was traveling about 15 days out of the month internationally, and then coming back home with a 15-day work month to be able to operate in what I didn't know at the time was more than the average in production, let's say, right? So like in my first year at EXP, I believe I sold personally about 45 homes, right? While doing all that in a part-time capacity. Now, the reason why I was able to put myself in that mindset was because some of these breakdowns I'm going to share with you here, right? First of all, the first thing I started doing, I started training. I started training like a professional, right? There was no winging it in the practice. So for me, that meant like every time I was sitting on a plane traveling, I would sit down and I would see how can I just continue to enhance my skill set. So I was doing, so at the time I didn't know it, but it was like self role playing, right? I was studying the mechanics of my business. I was learning all the scripts that I could get my hands on. I was just downloading everything that I could from the internet to be able to master that. And then I started to learn systems, right? I wasn't familiar with CRMs or, core logic or getting data and relating all that into my business. But as uncomfortable as it was, because I really did not like it, I knew that having systems in my business was the only way for me to be able to create some scalability. Okay. So I started to learn how to operate systems, right? And then I really took a deep dive into my own market. Okay. So train like a pro is probably one of the first skill sets that I would highly encourage you guys to take on. Secondly, executing under pressure, right? So this is what I train my agents now with. I always tell them the best agents will be the ones that learn how to find resolution when things start to fall apart because every deal will have its challenges. And if a simple challenge knocks you off and throws you off of your rhythm of being able to draw conclusions, then you're going to find yourself going through an emotional roller coaster and your execution under pressure will start to fail. Okay. Being able to execute under pressure really does require you to be calm and to be a problem solver, right? Be a problem solver in your business, in your relationships with people in real estate, and you'll find that transactionally, you'll start to really grow in that space. Number three, own your mission, right? It's more about knowing the why and the purpose. It's like showing up every single day, showing up every single day. That's how you'll start to really be able to grow and create the things that you want out of your business, whether that's a team, an organization, or your brand. Owning your mission is going to be really significant. So I get really clear on that, right? I give Casey so much credit all the time during my trainings because I share with them like when I first got into EXP, I don't know if it was within the first 6 months or so, I started scheduling calls with her so I could understand my story, understand my why. Like, why was I even doing this? Just in order to have conversations with people. And that was a game changer for me because now after that, I started showing up at events, at presentations, and I was just able to really clearly express what my purpose was in order to be in this business and find ways of contribution to others. So that was a really big moment for me in my business. Next, moving with precision, right? So this is where the negotiating, the follow-up, the structuring the deals, operating with purpose and not in guesswork, right? Moving with precision. You'll move with precision as you gain confidence, team. You'll move with precision as you gain confidence. So find out what are those confidence builders for you, right? We all get super confident once we close a couple deals. It's fantastic, right? But continuing to elevate that experience in yourself is going to be the game changer for you. So find other areas where you can build confidence because confidence isn't, in my experience, it's never been like a one size fits all kind of moment. Confidence for me and a lot of performers that I've been around comes from different parts of life. Confidence in your business, confidence in your faith, confidence in your physical abilities. Like when you start to encapsulate all these different confidence builders, you'll find yourself to be a little bit more well-rounded. Okay. And then lastly, thinking like a strategist, right? Being strategic in your business, right? Taking a look at the things that don't lie, data, trends, information, competition, moving in a way where your business is smart, right? Being smart in your business acumen and not just moving for the sake of speed, right? Not just moving for the sake of speed. Because I remember when I used to teach firearms to special agents, Secret Service, Federal Air Marshals. Uh, one of the things that a lot of really great shooters, right, shooting a gun, what they're phenomenal at is shooting off a lot of rounds in a little bit of time, right? Accurate, precision shooting. And one of the strongest skill sets, and this is applicable to real estate, is when you're shooting, there's two things. One, if you aim small, you hit small, right? So in your business, if you aim really small, like, dang, I just want to close a transaction this week. I'm not worried about the 20 that I want to do at the end of the year. This week, my mission is boom, very small. You'll be able to hit that more accurately sometimes than looking like the shotgun method and looking at a larger scope in your business. And then secondly, I used to teach them that when they're squeezing the trigger, right, for speed, right, slow is steady, fast is smooth. Slow is steady, fast is smooth. So be smooth in your approach, right? And you'll start to pick up momentum and speed in your business. So don't race to the finish line. It's a marathon sometimes. Take your time with it, and you'll build up speed as you start to be more proficient in your practice. Good stuff? All right. Doing great on time too. So let's talk about average and operator, right? This is what I've seen in my business, and certainly it's transitional, right? So in the beginning, when you're operating in the average, it happens. Many of us, all of us have been there. Many of us are there now, but our goal is to continue to advance, correct? So average agents, and I notice this especially in my intake and my onboarding when I'm helping agents from other companies come to EXP, right? And I start to kind of just do an assessment of where they're at in their business. So a few things that I notice, and this is where I really hit on the operator side to enhance their transactional business or whatever goals that they have in mind as they transition to EXP, is I notice these things. So many of them have some systems, right? Many of them, we're all aware, it's all out there. Every company relatively has some similar features, but average agents have some systems. They're just not really operating them to a full degree. Okay. Secondly, they're learning about leveraging their time, but they really haven't taken a deep dive into it. So they're still doing everything in their business. They're still doing all of the hard work, all of the TC work. They're operating in the average there. Okay. They start to really become very inquisitive about hiring their first uh, employee or team member to enhance their business. So whether that's a transaction coordinator, an assistant, or virtual assistant, it's very popular right now, but they're starting to barely integrate into that space. Next, they have a growth mindset. Again, it just hasn't really fully developed yet. They want a coach, they want a mentor, they want to be in a team environment so they can continue to build, learn, and grow. Okay. And then their average income kind of stays fixed between that 50 to $100,000 mark. Again, I'm in the Southern California market, but almost without fail, every time I speak to agents that are transacting, five-ish, six-ish transactions per year, this is kind of where they find themselves in that average agent kind of persona. Okay. Now, the operators, the ones that I've noticed that go next level with it, that operate more in the 100,000 to 300,000 range, start to implement these kind of traits and skill sets. They really shift their systems after they've mastered them themselves into automation and delegation, right? Automation and delegation. This is where they're really starting to buy back some of their own time. And the automation part is so essential in business now that you're not doing everything on your own and that it's just operating liquidly. Okay. Delegation, learning how to delegate the non-essential tasks that just aren't worthy of your time, and giving yourself the space to delegate those in the first place is super, super important. Because if any of you were like me, I wanted to do it all myself because I just didn't trust people to do it as well as I did. And I had to grow from that. So once you do, I'm telling you, you'll breathe a little bit easier once you start to do that. Okay. Now, next, operators have multiple sources of leads. Okay. Multiple sources. If you're just a Zillow Flex agent, or you're only getting, leads from your sphere, that you're going to be a one-trick pony in your business team. You need to have a multitude of sources so that way when one dries up, because they will at some point, you have other sources that you can tap into, and that'll keep your business fluid. Okay. So having multiple sources of leads is phenomenal. And that's what I really love about EXP is there's definitely no lack of opportunity as it relates to getting more sources of leads added to your business. You really just got to go out and search and destroy and get those. Okay. Automated lead gen. We all have the CRMs, guys. Use them, right? If you're on this call or if you watch this later and you're not with EXP, and you don't have an automated lead gen system, look into getting one because, again, it's a game changer. In just the second year, admittedly, the first year I was at EXP team, I didn't use my KV Core. Did not use it. I don't think I even opened it, right? Just because I didn't know about it. I didn't take a deep dive into it. The second year I started using KV Core and I started to automate my business and my campaigns, I went from 45 transactions to 52, and I attribute those extra 7 transactions to KV Core specifically, right? To KV Core. And my average commissions were $12,000, $13,000 out here in SoCal. So think about that. 7 transactions, 13,000. I don't know, do the math. It's around $90,000 more income just by implementing the CRM. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Okay. Scheduled metrics review. Okay. Scheduled metrics review. When I went from average agent to operator, I was coaching at the time with Tom Ferry. And that's what Tom Ferry showed me was to do a review of my numbers, right? Do a review of my numbers. And ever since then, when I've been in transaction mode, that just that singular focus realigns me every time I look at it, right? This year, I'll share this with you guys. The last 2 years, I had stepped out of production to help build the teams, to help build new leaders in the company. This year, because the market has been tough, and because of my own personal goals and my need to level up in all areas of my life, I stepped back into production in January. Right? I remember I had a very specific conversation with Casey about this, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and she gave me such beautiful words of encouragement. And the moment, team, that I stepped into production, less than a week later, I got 2 listings. Right? Because I started to look at my numbers, right? I really, admittedly, being out of production for 2 years, I lost my footing in how to operate as an agent. But like I said at the beginning of this call, the faster you get up, the faster you get in the fight, back into the game, the more you're going to be able to refine yourself. And taking wise counsel, being in a place of growth in this company by jumping on Zoom calls, participating with communities, I was able to realign that entire focus. And by God's blessings, again, I've been back into production. I'm looking at my board here. I think I've done 18 transactions year to date, a little over 12 million in volume. On my way to Icon Agent again, and I attribute that to getting back to the basics and doing things as an operator. That's been the game changer for me. Okay. Next, referral systems. Such a big deal, guys. Such a big deal. Now, the reason why it's a big deal is because as an operator, it doesn't mean you have to be in business by yourself. Okay? It does not mean that you're in business by yourself. You're operating as a team, as so mission focused for the greater good. And sometimes you do have to step out of your own comfort zone, out of your own bubble, out of your own box, and start to create and be an environment of community where you're developing relationships, and those relationships will turn into referral opportunities to enhance your business. Okay? I did that this year. Out of those 18 transactions, again, I'm just being very transparent with you guys. 6 of them are referrals. 6 of them are referrals. Those 6 are all coming from one source, right? I stepped out of my box. I started connecting with a lot of veteran networks, and one veteran network invited me on a podcast. That podcast has turned into me receiving all of the referral leads from their lenders. So they've sent me 6 to date, guys. And here's the beautiful thing about it. Talk about purpose. Not only are there veterans, which is in complete alignment with, you know, my entire background, is they are all of these veterans, they're so young. They're like in their 20s. It's like so beautiful to help them. And they're not just buying homes as veterans. Their focus and mission is multi-units for generational wealth development. So every one of those 6, I've either sold them duplexes or triplexes here in the LA region. It's been such a blessing to be able to work with them, and an alignment that I could not have even like thought would come together at a time even when I needed it more than they did, right? And so it was awesome to have that come together full circle. But that only happened because I had some fortitude to be able to step into that space, to have conversations, to build community. and really want to serve others before I was going to serve myself. So it was beautiful. All right, let me run through these other ones. Delegate non-essential tasks. We talked about that, right? Operators have already established team. So if you're in a space where you're doing 5, 6, 7 transactions, less than 10, and you want to elevate to the 15 to 20, you're going to have to get some help, right? Getting a VA, getting a couple VAs. If you guys need information on that, feel free to reach out to me directly. I have some great information and referral systems for those. But got to get on board to delegate these non-essentials, guys. And then next, you'll start building teams, right? A team is more than one person. So just get a buddy system in there. Get somebody involved with you. Build a little fire team. And it's a fire because you're sparking each other up, right? You're sparking each other up. You're building off of momentum. The heat will start to encapsulate your environment, and you'll find yourself just doing things much more efficiently than if you were operating by yourself. All right. How am I doing on time? We're doing great. All right. Let me give you guys a few actionables, okay? And then we'll open it up to some questions and comments, and then we can elaborate on a few more of these topics, right? So 5 actionables for you guys. Write these down, right? Every single day, wake up with some clear focus, okay? Wake up with some clear focus on what you want the end of your day to look like, right? Whether that's relatable to business or your personal life, have that focus picture in mind, right? Clear sight, clear focus, and you'll be able to hit the target. Again, I'll relate it to like when I was training agents in shooting, right? Okay, you can't just point and shoot. You won't hit the target. You'll hit the target maybe sometimes, but you won't be accurate in your practice. You have to use the mechanics. Clear sight, clear picture, and alignment will give you an accurate shot. Not until you put those 3 things together will you be able to be accurate in your approach. It's the same thing for business and your life. Okay. I'm running this program right now that it's called In the 40. It's in my Instagram and such if you guys ever want to participate in it, but it's simple stuff, right? It's like 5 things that you can do in your life. Now, I did this because I always get people that reach out to me about, hey, Joe, how can I do this or that, or how can I enhance that? And so I had this download about putting this In the 40 practice together that I used to do in the military. And it's the simple stuff, guys, the simple stuff. It's reading, it's working out, it's creating some time of gratitude in your life. It is a little bit of fasting, right? To reset our bodies, our temples. And so just by enhancing little things like that, I think you guys will find yourself operating with clearer focus. So take a peek at that if it's of interest to you. Okay. Number 2, have the systems, right? Follow-up systems that run like a military operation, right? Have the systems that run in alignment with your business, okay? CRMs are fantastic. I love those. I didn't in the beginning, but now I do. I can't even imagine operating my business without some kind of system. The thing that I love about systems team is that they're there because it creates duplicatable success, right? Once you learn the systems, you can copy and paste that anywhere in your business. So I'll give you an example. As I was using a CRM system for real estate, once I learned the system and the mechanics of it, then I was able to implement it into other areas of my life, right? Whether that was working out, I was able to create a system around it. Like before I would wing it, right? Now I don't have to do that. Now in other verticals that I'm looking into business, whether it's on Go High Level or Salesforce or other kind of CRMs, you're able to really create a framework to be able to stay consistent in your business. So make sure systems are part of your actionables. Number 3, right? Take territory, guys. We're not doing this just to survive, right? And what I mean by that is really take ownership of your practice, of your business, right? Take ownership in the sense where, you're not just operating in a space where you're just trying to go from sale to sale to sale to sale. You really are trying to be that area expert, that market expert, where if your business is based on a location or a city or a farm, that you encapsulate that you take over that with absolute confidence that you're going to be able to implement all the training that you'll be learning on how to take that territory and then continue to expand upon it, whether it's going to other cities, other states, other countries. This company has allowed us, guys, with no borders, to be able to do anything you can imagine that's completely boundaryless. So take full advantage of that in your business. Next, track your metrics. We talked about it, guys. The little things count. Calls, appointments, offers, closes. Like be sniperish in your targets. Be sniperish in your targets, right? Be specific. Monitor those, track those. I know I know this organization does these Friday calls are phenomenal, but I know there's coaching systems involved that break all of these down to a T. So take full advantage of it, tap in, stay in community here. Okay. And then lastly, treat things like they're a calling, not a side hustle, right? In the beginning of the call, I said, wow, this is a great side hustle, right? And that's how I thought at the time. But what I came to learn was that this was actually a calling in my life for me to serve others in real estate, to build other leaders, to be part of a company that has endless opportunity. At the time, I was thinking monetarily of it, but now as I've grown in other areas of my life, it really is a serving to be able to help those that are rocking with us now and those that will rock with us in the future. So treat your business with that kind of a passion. Be so fruitful about it, and you'll find yourself just starting to build and grow one step at a time. All right. And I'm coming to the end here, almost on perfect timing. So there's my contact info team. Probably the best way is just text me. If you have any questions, if there's anything that I shared here that, maybe you want me to touch up on, I would not mind setting out some time and having a quick conversation with you guys. Follow me on social media at the real Joseph Trujillo. I'm always on social, me and my team, and we'll be responsive and make sure that we get back to you as soon as we can. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Joseph. Wow, there was so many nuggets in there, and I would love to just create a space for questions or anyone that has ahas. I'll share a couple of mine. One of the things that you said was move with precision and you'll gain confidence. Aim small, hit small. And so it is like that continued forward progress and then the momentum that happens with that versus just huge aim, hit nothing, freeze. So,
Yeah.
so just thinking about all different areas of it's like get up and make progress, get up and make progress, and things take care of themselves. So I would love to hear other people's ahas or any questions from the time today. I mean, just jam-packed with value.
Yeah, and you guys are welcome to put it in the chat if you don't want to come off of mic. Would love that. Yeah, touching on that aim small, hit small stuff, Casey, until somebody puts a comment in here. I don't, or I was listening to a podcast by Myron Golden. Myron Golden, if you guys take a look at his podcast, is phenomenal as it relates to business. And one thing that he shared on his recent one was discipline is the highest form of self-care, right? I thought that was phenomenal. Like as we implement discipline in our daily practice, in our rituals, like what better way to serve ourselves than by keeping word to ourselves first? Because I'm sure we'll all agree, right? It's hard for others to buy into your word if they know that you haven't bought into it yourself. So keeping your word to yourself and moving forward in that first discipline will be able to help you build your discipline with others and your relationships. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, on that, discipline equals freedom is another one.
yeah, yeah. I think my buddy Jocko said that. Jocko Wilkins shares that all the time.
Yeah.
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 He's
All
he,
right.
he's another really great one. If for those of you that you kind of like the some people really like the military discipline kind of implementation in their business. Jocko is also a really strong. I used to be part of his mastermind. Really phenomenal teachings. It's all he's a former Navy SEAL, and talks about execution almost in every element of his business. So another phenomenal leader in that space.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
have a question for you if you're up for it.
absolutely.
So, I know that because of your organization growing and building and flourishing, you had gone out of personal production, and as it intentionally as a strategy for 2025, jumped back into personal production, and so to go from 2 years of being out of production to jumping back into production at the 6 month mark in the year of doing that and being at 18 transactions, while a lot of agents are out there not having the results that you're having. Will you talk about how you went from like cold turkey to lighting it right back up and the specifics that you did? Because I think in that, if people are willing to go, it's that whole thing of if you want what I've got, do what I've done.
Mhm.
What have you done to do that? I know you talked about getting in part of the veteran groups and that you've got 6 referrals that came from that. But what about the other 12?
I love that. Okay, so just for scope, when I before in my first few years at EXP, when I was hitting all those icons, my business almost, I don't know, 80-90% of it was all online leads. All of it was online leads. I was Zillow Premier Agent, Realtor.com, Redfin. That's where a bulk of my business was coming from. And the other 10 to 20% was just people that I knew in government service for the most part. So that business is, for me, that's not even a part of my business now, right? So after 2 years and coming back into it now, Casey, I had to eliminate, like almost start brand new, because 80 to 90% of my business is not the same as it was years before, right? So stepping into this space, especially in the climate that we find ourselves in with all the negative talk that I don't buy into, was okay, let me really just practice what I preach, literally, right? So I'm teaching agents grow multiple sources of leads. So as I looked at my lead sources, I'm like, dang, Joe, like you're that guy. You only had really two sources of leads when you were operating as an icon agent in years past, and they were online leads and referrals. So I needed to add more sources of leads. And so that's what I did, like literally probably the day after you and I spoke at the beginning of this year. I'm like, where are my sources? Let me look at my business and open up the playbook. And I added 5 more sources. And so specifically, the big one was referrals. So I'm like, I got to get more referrals for more people because I know how to build relationship with people. I'm in an amazing market, and we have the network of agents at EXP. Every single state, 26 countries. Like, let me be everybody's LA go-to guy. So I sold myself. I messaged them on Workplace. I said, hey guys, this is my bio. This is what I've done. I'm back in production. I'd be glad to be able to serve you and your clients here. And that's how I really kicked off the referrals that have come through EXP. I know most of them have come through that VA network, but I have 5 others that have been sent to me. Yeah, 5 others that have been sent to me that are non-veterans that are not in that group. So that was one. Secondly, business to business, right? Another part of my business that I didn't pay attention to, and I already had that community, right? With everything that I was doing here in Los Angeles, some of the people that I were coming or knowing or meeting, I'm like, let me open up that conversation and let them know what I do and how I can serve. So business to business has been really big for me as well. I've gotten 2 to 3 closed transactions from other businesses. Okay. And a lot of those are coming through some of the networks that I belong to out here in LA. So that was another really big one. The referrals from my community, more so for my veterans and the people that I know. So I know a lot of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters. So I had to re-engage that community because admittedly, I wasn't very good in running a sphere of influence campaign, right? So Will Higgins, my brother at EXP, he had always encouraged me, like, bro, you got to get your sphere going, get your sphere going. And I I really didn't pay much attention to it until this year. And that has attributed for an extra couple transactions as well. Okay. And then past clients, all right, just loving on my past clients, really getting intentional about touching them. So now it's the metrics, it's doing the numbers. Like in production, like I will sit down every single day and I'm making sure that I have 5 real estate related conversations every single day. And literally that's all I do. 5 conversations about real estate every single day. And that is getting me into a place where I'm getting buyers, I'm getting sellers, I'm getting a lot of commercial opportunities this year because I'm asking that question, right? In years past, I would never ask that. I would never ask a homeowner or a potential buyer, like, tell me a little bit, like, tell me about your business, you know? And I'm getting a lot of commercial opportunities from that space as well. So I say all that to say it's really doing the basics, you know, sticking to the metrics, creating more sources of opportunity. And now I can see like my business is on it's on automation now. I can see how many transactions I'll be doing over the next 3 to 4 months. And I'm building my pipeline because that's what you had to do, right? My pipeline was nothing in January. I had no transactions on the horizon. And come February, I think in February, I closed 4 transactions by starting cold turkey in January. So that's what I personally did.
I love that. So, from what you just shared, it was, I think there's so much value in that, right? Because it's ripping off the band-aid. You made a decision, and that word decision means death to all other options, and went all in, right? And then you did that with an intentional strategy, past clients, veterans. Uh, Leveraging the network of EXP agents to be the go-to realtor for your area. Genius, right? Because most people don't even realize or understand the power of networks. And when you think about the fact that you have access to 90,000 agents and can, I mean, what if you got a quarter of 1% of the referrals from 90,000 agents? I mean, you have more business than 10 of you could do. And so, like leveraging those networks, making yourself known, creating relationships, and having something that's a simple metric that you can look at every day, like where are those 5 conversations coming from? And then where did they happen? And so, and I also love that I love that the pivot in your business, because a lot of agents will drive themselves right out of the business buying leads, is that all of that's been generated in non-paid for leads that is relationship building. And it's funny, I was looking at I was on looking at an old training of Rick's that he had done on his Facebook under, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. And he was saying, like, listen, you need to know what business you're in. If you're in
Mm.
a sales business, you're not in the business of selling homes. You're not in the business of anything other than generating leads. That is your business. How do you generate the people that you can serve? And if you can't generate the people to serve, you have no business. What you do after you've generated the people to serve, yeah, get them into a house or invest or whatever they're doing with real estate. That doesn't happen until you find the people to serve, right? And so this skill set for somebody that's going to really thrive in this business long term, and I believe in life, is what's our ability to create, to nurture, and to develop relationships where people want to be doing business and life with you. And there's no getting around the time and energy that it takes to do that. And I think one of the other brilliant things that you said is recognizing the benefit of the people side of the business and then the system side of the business so that you can grow and scale through utilizing the systems and technology to do that. And I often think about, like, if I want to get across a lake and I'm on a boat that I'm paddling and like literally with an oar in the water, if I only paddle on one side, I'm going to go in a circle one direction. And if I only paddle on the other, I'm going to go in a circle around the other direction. And it takes both, right? So I love that you're talking, about both of those things in tandem, of jumping in, like making a decision, being clear, those activities, build the relationships, create the value, do the business, but then at the same time, think like an operator and execute like an operator and have those systems in place that can support that business as it grows and scales over time and like get you across the lake because you got both oars in the water. So
Mm.
many nuggets. So great. Before we close out the call for today, because I've been dominating the questions just because people are either shy or they're so overwhelmed they don't know where to start. Because there's so much value, they'll have to go back and watch the recording and pick out the nuggets that they're going to integrate and use. Would love to open it up if there's anyone that has a comment, question, anything you'd like to say before we wrap up for today. Going once, going twice.
I appreciate just you hopping on, man. I didn't realize that you and I had pretty similar backgrounds. Uh, and sorry, I've been mowing the lawn of my open house this whole time and making my 12-year-old do it. It's nice when there's my house, there's my newest listing. My house, newest listing. Kind of cool
Let's
to see your
go.
face right in front of your house. But no, I appreciate everything that you said, man. It was a little bit of a slap in the face, I think, and it should have been a slap in the face to everybody on here who has taken a step back in lead generation and hasn't truly decided to be a hunter. Because that's exactly what you just said. Is you said in January you decided to be a hunter and not just sit there and wait for business to come to you. Is you got out there and you got after it, which a lot of agents over the last 3-4 years have forgotten how to do. And so I appreciate that, man, because it was definitely a pretty great reminder of what we should be doing every single day. And what we should be doing every single day is not just sitting there twiddling our thumbs saying, well, I hope somebody calls me today. Maybe somebody will call, so I really appreciate that, man. Appreciate everything that you've done. And thank you for your service as well, sir.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate you, my brother. Salute you.
All right. Well, with that, the recording will be on our Empire Builders Pro YouTube channel. You can find that in the link that Selena put in the chat, empirebuilders.pro/resources. You'll go under the Free Friday coaching calls and you'll find the recording there. Joseph, thank you for your heart, for your service. It's always an inspiration to see you grow to the next level. And one of the things that I really appreciate about our relationship is the ability to have real conversations, not just when things are rocking and rolling and cranking on all cylinders, however, in the tougher times too. And that those conversations, those opportunities to deepen relationships are really invaluable. And so for everyone that is on the call today, like if you are being a lone ranger, or you're in a place of challenge and isolating yourself and not reaching out and helping and asking for support or just even mastermind or somebody to empty your cup to so that you can reset and move forward. Invitation to do that because nobody succeeds alone. And even people that are succeeding at the highest levels are never succeeding alone. And the greater level of success that you create for yourself, the greater level of challenge there is to navigate. And that just continues to grow as the success grows. So the beautiful thing about that is it refines our skill sets and helps us become the people that we're meant to be. And so be somebody that's willing to step up and do that every day. And Joseph, thank you for the example that you set in doing that. Really appreciate you, my friend.
I appreciate you guys too. Thanks for having me. Love you guys. You guys have a blessed day.
All right. Thanks all.